We welcome to today's special webinar. The webinar series is on Vision 10-10-10-10, which is themed Operationalizing the Third Mission of Universities using the Triple Helix model. And this is an initiative of the Triple Helix Nigeria. The essence is to operationalize the third mission of universities, which is innovation, basically using the Triple Helix model and trying to see how these can bet sustainable development. So we're going to have a cruise with the president making a welcome to everybody. And I am your moderator. My name is Dr. Eukeria Onwichi. I'm an environmental biochemist and a director exchange and linkage programs unit at the University of Port Harcourt. This is how we run today. Opening formalities, the remark by the President, Triple Helix Nigeria. We take a keynote address, which will open communication for today. And then we'll have expert panel session, where we look at different issues as how academia, industry, and government can come together in a Triple Helix model to operationalize the third mission. Then we take questions and take a remark by the Vice President, Triple Helix Nigeria, then closing formalities. We will take a group photograph, of course, at the end of the session. So the President of Triple Helix Nigeria is Mr. Abdulmalik Halilu. He is the General Manager, Research, Statistics and Development of the Nigerian Content Development and Monitoring Board, NCDMB, where he is responsible for overseeing the implementation of the board's research, statistics, and development mandate. Mr. Abdulmalik Halilu was at various times the pioneer head of strategy and policy development and general manager corporate services and logistics in NCDMB, where he played key roles in the conceptualization of the Nigerian Oil and Gas Park Scheme, HSST policy, Nigerian Content Intervention Fund Implementation Framework, Research and Development Framework, and many others. As a policy development expert who holds a master's degree in development studies, PGD in management science, and Bachelor of Technology degree in agricultural technology, Mr. Abdulmalik Halilu had been pushing innovation. Prior to joining NCDMB in 2011, Mr. Abdulmalik worked for many years in Essential, a global management consultancy, technology, and outsourcing firm, where he played key role in the development of Nigerian Vision 2020 Economic Transformation Project, NMPC Project PACE Transformation Project, Policy for Nigeria Biofuels and Renewable Energy Program. He is a fellow of Nigerian Institute of Management Chartered, a certified project management professional, and a member of Kaduna Gulf. He is married with great children. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome on board the President as he takes us on a ride of opening remark. President, please.
Thank you very much, Dr. Eukeria, for excellent moderation so far. I welcome all those that have joined us in the webinar from all walks of life, Nigeria and the diaspora. As we may all recall, in 2022, with the support of industry, academia, and government institutions, we approached the Triple Helix Association to register the Nigeria chapter, and we were able to get the registration, and we launched the chapter in 2022. As part of the program to engage the industry stakeholders, we decided to launch the webinar series, and it is going to focus on our vision of 10-10-10. So this is the first of a series of webinars that we'll be hosting as Triple Helix Association Nigeria chapter. So just to set the context, the Triple Helix Association is a knowledge-based association that has a convergence of scholars, practitioners, policymakers, all with the intention of leveraging research capacity of universities, government's role as a policy organ, and also the industry as off-takers of products of research to ensure that countries that adopt the triple helix model are also able to innovate and develop products from research efforts. So we have keyed into this complex association, which comprises several jurisdictions across 6 regions, from North America to Europe to Asia. So Nigeria is already on the map of the Triple Helix Association from Africa, and we're happy to have been able to achieve that feat. As most of us are aware, universities started as centers for teaching. That was the first generation concept of having a university. Just go to university, get your degree, and that is it. So the initial teachers in the universities were just meant to teach and graduate students. But as industrial revolution evolved and the global economy kept changing, the importance of universities shifted from just teaching to research. It became obvious that you cannot have teaching in isolation without research. And universities assumed the position of centers where ideas are created and products that we all use today, the likes of Google, they were all products of research by PhD students, the Google search engine that we're using today. So obviously, the universities assumed leading roles as research centers. Again, based on the dynamism of the global economy, the universities have further evolved to become innovation centers. So today you hear more of entrepreneurial universities. That is, universities being centers that generate wealth, that produce graduates that are wealth creators and not employment seekers. So that narrative is changing, and that is the hallmark of the triple helix philosophy, where there's a convergence in the academia to ensure that universities produce products of research that will be used by industry. However, as a government, there has to be enabling policies in terms of incentives to carry out research, but most importantly, deliberate regulations that ensures products of research go through the requisite technology reviews, verification, validation, and acceptance for deployment into industry operations. So that is the convergence and the partnership that exists between academia, government, and industry under the triple helix model. So our first series of webinar is basically to ensure that we also key into this model. And what we're trying to do is to bring home this concept of entrepreneurial university. And the first set of speakers that we have lined up will do justice to this topic so that we'll begin to raise the momentum for Nigeria to adopt this philosophy, and hopefully within the next few years, we'll begin to see a major transformation in the way graduates are churned out from the universities. So the vision that we have presented to the Triple Helix Association, which earned us the adoption and recognition, is 10-10-10. Basically, if you go to most of the leading universities across the globe, the likes of Imperial College, you find out that they actually invest in businesses that evolve from research from their institutions. By investing in these universities, the equity holders, they make revenue from such investments, and that helps them to stabilize, expand, and innovate. That is the concept that we're trying to bring home, where Nigeria universities will not just be responsible for dishing out research topics to students. Once when the research is presented to the academic board, concluded, everybody goes home. No, the idea is to transition those research topics. Today, we have NOTAP that also has offices in universities to ensure that they bring home the process of patenting. That is one way that we're growing the academia in Nigeria. Going forward, you find universities also taking deliberate steps to follow through research projects that have prospects of industry assimilation, and the universities also taking equity investments in these projects and making them revenue centers for the universities so that will reduce the dependence on government for subventions to universities. That is the narrative that is being discussed. That is the narrative that is going to be the direction of the Triple Helix Association. So far, so good. We have received significant support from most of the universities that we have approached. As we speak, we have 342 research proposals already coming out of the universities that we have contacted and engaged. Over 100 researchers, PhD students, 143, and senior researchers. This is even at the preliminary stage. I believe that going forward, as we build momentum, we'll have more research proposals in our KIT that will become the transformational direction and projects that will bring products that we can really showcase as emanating from Nigerian universities, being converted to wealth creation points, and of course, technology for our dear country. So this is our story. This is what we are set to achieve. And we believe with this first set of webinar, everybody will be aligned. In a nutshell, we also have the innovation ecosystem that has been designed, which clearly shows you the roadmap that we intend to follow. So this is a deliberate program that we have lined up for ourselves that basically defines how research will be transitioned to products in the market. So this project is what we are trying to deliver for Nigeria. We are focused, we have a direction, we have stakeholder support, and we believe with the quality of participants in this webinar and stakeholders that are supporting this initiative, we'll be able to develop a well-tested innovation ecosystem for our dear country. So on that note, I welcome you all. I thank you for joining this webinar and wish you all the best. God bless.
Thank you so much. It wouldn't have been better than that we've listened from the horse's mouth that prepared this food that's been served today. Thank you so much, Mr. Abdul Malik Halilu, the President, Triple Helix Nigeria. Now we climax into this keynote speech, and that will be given by a renowned professor who obtained his PhD in chemical pathology from the University of Ibadan at the age of 28. He was subsequently employed at the then Anambra State University of Technology in the old Anambra State, now Nnamdi Azikiwe University, Awka, as the foundation. He was the first and only lecturer one academic staff of the Department of Chemical Pathology, College of Health Sciences, Nnewi campus. In 1992, this renowned professor was appointed honorary consultant chemical pathologist at Nnamdi Azikiwe University Teaching Hospital, Nnewi, Anambra State. And in 1994, the then Dr. Ahaneku won the Science and Technology Agency of Japan Fellowship and grant to work at National Institute of Health, NIH. Tokyo, being the first Nigerian and the only African in that year to secure the highly competitive STA fellowship and grant. At the end of the 18-month stay in Tokyo, Japan, Dr. Ahaneku then emerged as the STA Foreign Researcher of the Year under the Research Development Corporation, RDC, of Japan, making Professor Ahaneku the first African and first Black scientist to receive that STA and Research Development Corporation of Japan honor. The then Dr. Ahaneku rose through the ranks in the university to become a full professor with the full chair in chemical pathology on his 35th birthday, being October 1st, 1997. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome on board Professor Joseph E. Ahaneku, a fellow of the Academy of Science. Prof, please.
Thank you very much, the moderator. Thank you, the organizers of this program. I want to thank very especially the president of Triple Helix Nigeria, and then those that have put together this particular event. I'm very glad to be part of this conversation, and I'm glad to be here to share some of my stories and to share some of my thoughts, my reflections, experiences, and what we can deploy, especially for those of us that have remained in the university system for more than 30-something years now, and we are still part of that system. Looking back and looking into the future, how we can really transform and transit from what we've been doing over the years to what can give us the enabling space to compete favorably the way other nations are also moving in the West. Can I have the first slide? Looking back and looking into the words of wisdom from Julius Caesar, he said, "It is better to create than to learn. Creation is the essence of life." Aristotle also said, "Those who know, do. Those that understand, teach." While Confucius said that real knowledge is to know the extent of one's ignorance. And Socrates summarized it by saying that the only true wisdom is in knowing you know nothing. Drawing from this background, those of us in the academia, over the years, we have really been, doing our teaching, doing our research, just as the president identified. The next level and the next leg is what we are supposed to be confronting in order for us to really achieve the socioeconomic development of our society, starting with our nation as large. Let me start by summarizing what I'm going to present by giving the program of how I'm going to make this presentation. I'll give a brief historical background of Triple Helix, because in everything in life, there's always a history. I will now go on to talk about the examples of innovative universities, how they have fared, across the globe, the indices that made them innovative universities and how they are ranked. Then the requirements, or what I would say the steps to mainstream Triple Helix model of innovation into tertiary institutions in our country. And then finally, I'll tell my little story, my experience, my thoughts, and kind of reflection based on some of the things I could put together while leading as a university manager. Historically, the word Triple Helix did not just come from the blues. If we recall, in the discovery of DNA, two major names are worthy of mention: James Watson and Frederick Crick. These wonderful scientists in 1953, they were the ones that discovered the DNA molecule. And in the discovery of that DNA molecule, that was the double helix structure. And that discovery, as a matter of fact, earned this scientist Nobel Prize in 1962. Going forward, the DNA was discovered, but it didn't just stop at that, because in the evolution and in handling both genetic, molecular related challenges in the health sector, there was a further input. The double helix structure is also a stable structure. But then, in order to confront challenges related to genetic modifications and molecular modifications, in 1957, Felsenfeld and Rich described for the first time when they incorporated the third DNA strand to the double helical structure in order to form the triple helix model, or the triple helical nucleic acid structure. And that was what gave rise to the word triple helix. And that their model then was called triple helix model. So from that time onwards, as we have seen how it was used in the human management of diseases, in human way of solving the problem related to genetics and hereditary and all that, this same challenge being confronted in the current day manifestation of how to develop the society was brought into play. And that is what we are now discussing from the perspective of socioeconomic development and learning. So I will say that over the years, we've had a kind of interaction at the double helical model or double helix model in the form of learning, being government universities, government academia interaction, and the academia doing their job in the form of teaching research. The third arm of mandate in the university is community service. And community service can only be driven when you have practical realities and things, take-home assignment that will benefit the society. So, and the third mandate being the stakeholders in the society and taking steps to confront the challenges and solve the problems confronting humanity, that has brought us to this conversation in the form of a triple helix. And that is what we are now to discuss. As I've given the background historically, the triple helix model, from the perspective that we are going to discuss, is a set of interaction that is between the academia, the industry, and the government. As demonstrated, look at the model by the right. This particular approach as a way of solving problem confronting humanity was first introduced by Gottfried and Leidensdorf in 1997. However, to us and for us in the developing world, it might appear that we've not really gone far in this level of interaction, at this level of interaction. But in the West, in some developed nations and developed societies, this is already becoming a mainstay, because several universities across the globe have taken steps to fully drive learning beyond the shores of the classrooms, beyond the shores of just you telling students what to do and then students reproducing, what you've taught them. That was why I decided to project, the philosophy of the old persons of reasoning that said is better to those who know do. And that is the conversation that we are trying to ensure that we really embed in our institutions. So looking back, universities in the West have done that, and we will give examples of some of these universities. These universities, there's a survey of not less than 27 universities that have been ranked as innovative universities. These innovative universities are all research-based universities. And according to the ranking, Stanford University in the United States was ranked first. And I want us to review some of the peculiarities of some of these universities so that we can understand the qualities and how these universities operate in order to understand how to also situate our situation by knowing some of the steps we are likely to take in our own tertiary institutions in order to launch this level of participation and level of interaction in our universities. Because the next thing we are to be thinking and we should be doing is to have innovative universities, universities that generally will continue to solve problems confronting humanity. The next university is Massachusetts Institute of Technology. You can see from the, I'm sure you have all have been reading the content on by the right, concerning some of these universities. You could see $728 million US research grant was part of what they secured in a particular year in 2016. And this university, for instance, they have sponsors from great companies like Ford, Intel, Shell, Samsung, etc. And they partner with not less than 700 companies. Next slide. This is a private university, though. Then this is the first public university in the US and ranked 15 in the order. The first two, Stanford and Massachusetts, they are private universities, but they are all research universities. But for University of Washington, old university, peculiarities, 5th in ranking as innovative university in the world, but the 1st as a public university. This underscores the fact that whether you're a public university, whether you're a private university, if you are doing something that will change the ecosystem in terms of development of any particular environment, that institution will really be recognized and will be rated very highly. So in 2016, University of Washington earned $995 million as part of their budget credited to just research. And that constituted 72% of the university's annual budget. So, and in that same year, they were able to have 21 new startups amongst 126 startups over the past 10 years that they had all earned. That is to tell you that the base of some of these universities could compete favorably with some nations in some of the developing world in terms of their holding. KU Leuven is really a very peculiar university in Belgium. Peculiar in the sense that, yes, it's supposed to be a private university created for a purpose, but they have very deep interest in research. So it's also ranked and regarded as one of the foremost innovative universities. In fact, the first in the whole of Europe. So in 2015, the university's total research expenditure exceeded 454 million euros. And the patent portfolio was more than 586. This particular institution should really had in their holding. In 2016, this university announced a new partnership with Ford Motor Company to study the durability of auto parts created using the 3D printing manufacturing process. So they really, have, their inroad, and they have been partnering with companies. And when it was founded as far back as 1425, it wasn't just for theology and for religious, intent, but in order to really confront the challenges and bring development to the society and the environment where this university was domiciled, they had to venture into research and started doing research very deeply. Korea Advanced Institute of Science and Technology. I decided to put it because it's one of the ranked universities as well in the first 27 universities in the whole world. It's not an old university. It was just established in 1971 with a peculiar history. And this Korean university, its initiative to drive entrepreneurship. So they have this penchant to really, ensure that every research endeavor ended up in financial support. In fact, that's in business endeavor. This is also another, Korean university, private though, but one peculiar thing why I had to put this is one of the ranked universities of the first 27 in the world. But you can see the staff-student ratio or student-teacher ratio of 10:1. That is very, very instructive. It's not a matter of having, large population, but the ability to solve problems, ability to really, be impactful is also very, very key. So this is also part of what, we all have to be looking at the end of the day. And majorly the institution, had more postgraduate students as against undergraduate students, meaning that postgraduate research is actually the way to go in the years to come, both in our institutions here in Nigeria and other parts of Africa and globally. Duke University in the United States. This one is one university that is made for, I picked it because of also the staff-student ratio of 3:1. It's an innovative university, and students are really programmed to have innovative ideas. The spirit of innovation is driven among the students, and that is the mindset. The entrepreneurship is the hub. They try to drive entrepreneurship in whatever they do in that institution. University of Cambridge, similar to the ones described in the United States. University of Cambridge is very well known. The grant worth of 462 million, was credited to this university in 2016. World and great leaders have passed through this university, and research is the mainstay. Tokyo Daigaku, the University of Tokyo, is one of the oldest universities and first national university in Tokyo. As a matter of fact, many leaders of that country, passed through this university. But the interesting thing is that apart from having different centers and very many research outlets, this university, collaborates and is associated with 200 companies around the world. And interestingly, companies that are not even based in Tokyo, like Johnson & Johnson, Fujifilm Corporation, and other companies that are very, very highly rated, the real companies that really do a lot of work with the University of Tokyo. And they do a lot of work in the healthcare industry and healthcare delivery system globally. Tsinghua University, China. Yes. Why I put this is for us to understand that there are very many ways of breaking even when we want to do this our mainstreaming, because this university was actually set up to prepare students that will be sent to the United States, and they were to emulate the quantum and level of research that could solve problems in their own environment. So incidentally, they modeled their university after some universities, in the US, like University of California and all that. And today, they have achieved a lot, and they have a strategic partnership and a lot of growth. And is currently now being ranked as one of the top rated innovative universities they have, not in China, but globally, as a matter of fact. National University of Singapore. This is one of the lowly ranked ones, but is still among the universities, the first 27 universities. So this university in Singapore, you know, in fact, is regarded as part of the leading universities that brought innovation that even today, when we talk of smart cars in Singapore, it was developed by practitioners and the researchers of this university. So they have a lot of holding in the technology and technology development in cashless Singapore. National University of Science and Technology, that's so. Yes, this is now among the first 27 innovative universities, but I decided to bring this because I have taken time to study a lot of universities in the Asian world, and I have found out that they have their own peculiarities. If you go through this, the knowledge about this university, you will discover that it started as a vocational institute. From vocational institute to a technical college. From technical college, it transformed to an industrial university. So from industrial university, now it is renamed lately in 2010 to Seoul National University of Science and Technology. So from the inception, it was a hands-on institution, not really for just ordinary degree awarding and degree earning, institution. So we have a lot to learn from this kind of model where we can transform, where we do hands-on, edit with other forms of learning and still credit the individual with certificate at the end of the day. So this particular institution right now is a home to 60 tech companies in South Korea. In fact, most of the companies, in fact, when you hear of a cluster of companies called the Seoul Technopolis, it originated from Seoul National University of Science and Technology, or what used to be the Industrial University of South Korea. This is also, this is their park. They have a Seoul Techno Park for nanotechnology and information technology. And staff-student ratio is usually 1 to 10, 10 students a trainer, meaning that the interaction is supposed to be very wholesome and up to date. The evolution of triple helix. So I haven't seen, what the established universities in developed world and in some of the, well, should I say, developing countries have done to get to where they are. I believe that we also can do same in our own country. But to do that, we need to situate and look at the peculiarities and some of the things that we need to do in order to drive this. And I will say this always to colleagues: university is set up to be a problem-solving entity. And that is the ideology, that is the spirit, which every person has to, everyone that is in that system should imbibe that. Because if you have that as part of your mindset, then one will understand that there is no discipline in the university that you cannot have fulfillment. So I will say that there are various strategies, and in order to drive all that, we need to look at some certain strategic approach or approaches that we need to really, incorporate in our operational system for us to have innovative universities or mainstream triple helix of innovation in universities or tertiary institutions in Nigeria. First, the head of institution, of any institution, management is key, should be somebody who is substantially exposed in innovative research and requisite international and local research experience and exposure. It is important because you can easily give what you don't have. And the broader your expertise and the broader your knowledge of issues, especially related to learning, the broader that is, the easier and better it will be for you to deploy in handling colleagues, especially in a setting like a university. So the head of institution should be a team leader in problem solving in multi-sectoral fashion. Universities or institutions should be the pilot or the pilot institution, because we could have other institutions that are related, not necessarily university. They should be treated as research institutions with all the appurtenances thereof. What I mean is that there are a lot of interferences that we see in our system. We should draw the distinction. When we say an institution is a research university, the grants and the support should really be worthwhile, and the treatment that will be given to the people who are there and the number of students that they receive should really be the size that can give room for proper apprenticeship. So it should really be an environment to drive through ideology of university as problem solving, and not where people only will talk and still leave the problem the way it is. So it's a problem solving entity and solution providers that we should really have. The proprietor of university, whether it's private or public, should set aside appropriate funds for prosecution of research, as well as deploying relevant and qualified staff as trainers. That is really very, very important, because you need people who are substantially exposed to be the trainers and those who should drive, innovation in any learning environment. Continuing, trainer-trainee or mentor-mentee ratio. Yes, that is teacher ratio, teacher-student ratio should be maintained as at the level of 1 to 10, because when you pack a lot of people, proper apprenticeship will not really take place, because that is what learning is all about, and we have to see it to be like that. Knowledge seeking should not be limited to the university or tertiary institution environment. So what we are talking about is that we should have industries, private sector. For instance, if you're in the health sector, good hospitals that do really good job, even if they are not credited as teaching hospitals, but because they have good hands, such places should also be seen as a place to expose people in skills. So the same as industries where you do manufacturing and all that. So they should really have handshake with universities or tertiary institutions in order to do proper hands-on, because at the end of the day, the students will be looking up to such private establishments or companies or private places as the places where they really do the practice. So that is the way to go. And we need to really drive that kind of concept in our university. Faculty members and trainers should always avail themselves to confront the challenges facing the industries and society. So our dream and our objective in the universities will be to start thinking of what to bring on board to solve problems that the industry and the private sector will be in need of. So we can't be doing research that is not applicable to any particular sector of the economy. So what I mean is that we will be thinking of what to bring on board. In fact, before you design your research, you will be thinking, oh, this is my research. Can it really attract the interest of company X, Y, or Z? Many years now, I have refused to get involved in any research that is not going to end up in a physical product. And that is what I call research with commercial case. Now, I haven't given some ideas of what we can do to really, in terms of steps that could be taken in order to mainstream triple helix in our universities and some of the requirements. I want to tell a bit of my story, having headed an institution, because it wouldn't be good for me to just say all these things without telling the audience what the brief of what I try to do, deploying this level of exposure, deploying what I preach, what I'm talking about to the environment that was given to me to manage. So when I became a vice chancellor in 2014, I actually quickly, addressed the institution, and I had a mantra called practice what you preach, ideology. So it's not a matter of, oh, I'm a theater artist, I teach students, my students are doing well in Nollywood. No, it shouldn't stop at that. I will always charge our colleagues, oh, if you're a theater artist, premiere a film, let's see. You will be the one to really, teach the people peripherally. If you're a microbiologist, let us know what you do. You can't be telling me that you want to go and buy, agar for your experiment. Then why are you a microbiologist? You tell me that you need money to buy, the materials to prepare, the agar plate and things like that. So, and that is the way to go. So that students from the outset will continue to look up to the practice of that their particular profession. So there's no program in the university that is not meant to make an individual self-reliant. And that is why these courses are being mounted. So at the inception, I quickly created a directorate called Research, Innovation and University Industry Relation. So that directorate, I believe, was created for the first time in the university system in that our university. We used to have director for research and innovation. But I thought, looking at how things are done in other places, some of the experiences I had both in Japan and the US and some other places, I felt, look, this is what will help us. And looking at the peculiarities of where I was serving in Anambra State, there are a lot of companies, there are a lot of industrialists, there are a lot of things that we had around us. I said, no, there must be university industry relationship added to our Center for Research and Innovation. But again, public institution, how do you go about funding? How would you secure the money to even equip that directorate? So I said, okay, liberalize, control. Let every unit of the institution, departments and faculties, as they generate, even from dues and from little earnings and whatever, donations that they receive. We said, took this decision, 20% of whatever you generate should be credited to face your research endeavor. And that was it. So 20% of what was earned in every unit of the institution, whether it's department or directorate or faculty, was set aside to address the advancement of research. And with that, if you're in a faculty, you could ask for money to attend conferences or even go and present papers and things like that. And that could be supported even within your faculty or your department. So furthermore, from postgraduate education, being a fee-paying, program, we decided to set aside for research development and research workshop. There was a fee that was meant for just research. So 40% of that money we had to set aside for the promotion of research. And all this coming from central level, we were housed and kept, the money was kept under a subhead, being managed by Directorate of Research, Innovation and the University Industry Relation. And when people now, if they create certain proposals and they are evaluated. So having created the enabling environment for effective competition and for colleagues to really, understand themselves and the way to go, because the next thing you hear, people will say, there's no fun, we can't do this, we can't do that. We say, yes, there is fun. The next was for us to create the enabling competitive environment. So we instituted research fair. Every department, every directorate, every unit on a yearly basis will come and showcase practically what you have produced, whether you are in fire arts, whether you are in theater arts, whether you are in any unit of any polymer and textile. So the competition was very good and honestly made the environment to be highly stimulated. So then we also established research methodology and grant writing publication workshop for all postgraduate students and their supervisors. So Department of Industrial Production in our Faculty of Engineering, we opened up the space because I told them, look, how do we answer production engineering when we don't have product? So that, stimulated consciousness in that department. If you go into the archives of the university, it was during my tenure that they produced the first auto unicycle car. It was showcased, it was presented, we came here in Abuja to do the presentation. And then subsequently, they obtained grant. We have the production process, which you will see later on, and all that. So that we got established. And then they also had a collaboration and relationship with Julius Berger, Kutis, and couple industry and all that. So we attracted in the same way because we now have, we had people who were now stimulated to work. So the owner of Chisco Motors, Cisco Industry, donated a workshop, a car maintenance workstation. So we said, okay, we have to start with ourselves by ensuring that all our government and university-owned vehicles. We are sent to that garage. So we now acquired the best diagnostic machine for car repairs and car maintenance. And then head of Department of Mechanical Engineering, then Dr. Solomon Mibo, was really made to be the chairman of that garage and the head of that garage. Now he's a professor. Then he used to come to Senate on his overall, and that was the beauty of it. That was the beauty of it. So next slide. So in the same spirit of driving and getting people qualified and conscious enough to be part of our building block and be the role models, because our current generation of Nigerians and in fact the young people globally, they believe in what they see a lot, and they get stimulated by looking at role models. So we didn't limit our teaching and training to our academic staff operating within the university system. So we also had to deploy those in the industry to be our resource persons, at various levels. So you see that in our Faculty of Pharmaceutical Sciences, somebody like Dr. Ifeanyi Okoye, the chairman of Juhe Pharmaceutical Industries, is a very well-known industrialist, and his parental laboratory and production site, they produce drip and water for injection and all that. It's just very handy. So he himself is an adjunct senior lecturer in our Faculty of Pharmaceutical Sciences. So you can imagine when students that are studying pharmacy, they look up to a person like that. He's very well established and he's high up there as a manufacturer. And then that is the kind of stimulation many students, even being students already, would want to do. So they are usually exposed, because the advantage is that having them on board, our institution had access to their facilities. So students, had it a lot easier to access some of their facilities in their production value chain, the production sites. So somebody like Okey Ikechukwu, he has been a resource person and still a resource person at our university business school. Then our entrepreneurship center that became the enterprise center for the whole of Southeast, we had regular speakers and role models that we are inviting them in batches. People like Engineer Dr. Ajulo Zodike, the chairman of Kutis Cable PLC, the electrical cable that is produced locally here, that is of high standard. Dr. Cosmos Madoka, the chairman of Kocharis Motors, Chief Dr. Stella Coley, the owner of the chairman of Enzo Pharmaceutical, Chief Inosin Chukuma, chairman of Inosin Group of Companies and Inosin Motors, Mr. Frank Nneji, the chairman of ABC Transport. So these people, we are regular speakers at our Rack to Riches conference at our entrepreneurship center, because our Department of Entrepreneurship, has really, been so consolidated that we try to use that center to drive most of the ideologies that we preach, at the entrepreneurship department. So they usually, and they are still participating up to this moment. So as we advance with product exhibition, I created the Directorate of University Production Process. So having created all that, research was going on, competition was going on. So the people in production technology, production engineering department, we secured a grant from PTDF. Instead of getting money from them, we preached and told them that we needed equipment more than any other thing. And I said, give us this equipment and leave us, and then you see what you do with what we have acquired. So when they agreed and approved for the funding to supply us equipment, production equipment, I quickly funded the then dean of faculty, who happened to be a professor of production engineering. So he was in China. The university formed the same Directorate of Research, Innovation, and University Industry Relationship. We took money there, funded him for 3 months, and he was in China. So he was there from the conceptualization, production, and to the end of delivery of the particular machine that we finally paid for. We needed him to be there to troubleshoot and to do everything humanly possible that we can deploy in the management of, that machine. So the machine came down, and then we started having our product. The Department of Theatre Arts premiered their first, film. We call it Diary of Campus Girl. It's a premiere film. The music department had their production, and we were doing outdoor, entertainment and outdoor conversations, outdoor, engagement and all that. We introduced our Chinese, Spanish, German, lessons, and then had our Confucius Institute as part of a way of internationalizing both our languages in Nigeria, because we now had Igbo, Chinese, Igbo, Spanish, Igbo, German, and that for me is a way of making the language that we study in Nigeria not only domestic but international. These are some of the products of from our production value chain, because we created this production process division. The head of that division now is that Professor Inweze. So from that time when we acquired the machine, we've been producing some of these products are some of the products that are in the market. We use them as souvenirs, we use them during convocation, and we have others now that are coming in the open market. So these products are really in the open market. This is part of the pictures of what you see at the university workshop, the Chisco Institute of Transport Studies and the garage, the car diagnostic center. So all our car diagnoses are really done, and the repairs also done. These pictures you see here, this is a graduate of music department. He's currently in the United States. He's still part of the staff of Nnamdi Azikiwe University, and he's been invited severally, and he's been showcasing African talent and the African instrumentation. So if you watch the video that will come later on, you understand how he has been in Massachusetts Institute of Technology. He's been in many universities in the US, selling the idea of our indigenous music, not only indigenous music, including our local technology of the music instrument manufactured by him and the departments that are within the university that you can't find elsewhere. Well, I want to thank everybody for listening.
Thank you for the keynote. It's been very, very rewarding. I hope the audience are having a great time with the experiences Prof brought to the table, experiences, knowledge to the fore. And I want to bring 3 submissions from this presentation today to give us take-home message before we get into the next session, which will be the panel. The first is that he has highlighted, I'm starting from the ending part of the lecture, he has highlighted collaboration as the key, a panacea to achieving the triple helix model in the university, industry, and government collaboration. He has emphasized that collaboration between the industry, government, and academia will drive innovation and economic development. He has said that by working together, these entities will share their knowledges, the resources that are bound, expertise that he has enumerated to create new products. He also mentioned services and technologies that have come from such interactions, and they benefit the society. And he has highlighted, even as the president corroborated in his opening speech, that university has a special role to play in this collaboration for it to be effective, as they are mediator, neutral third parties, to be able to make these different stakeholders facilitate knowledge transfer. The second take home I'll leave us with is the focus on practical outcomes. He has said here that the third mission of universities involves applying knowledge to solve real-world problems and contribute to economic and social development. And he has said that to achieve this is essential to focus on practical outcomes and impact rather than purely academic achievements. And he mentioned the university staff to student ratio as one of the tools that can be leveraged to have these practical outcomes. He has highlighted that universities should work closely with industry partners and government agencies to identify key challenges and develop solutions that have tangible benefits to the society. And lastly, take home from Professor Ahaneku is that we should try to foster an entrepreneurial culture if we want to mainstream the third mission of university, which is innovation, using the triple helix model. He said that the model highlights the importance of an entrepreneurial culture that encourages innovation and risk-taking. So we should begin to take risk. To operationalize the third mission of universities, Professor Ahaneku said it's crucial to create an entrepreneurial culture that supports startups. And he said this can involve the university, the government, and industry providing resources variously and support for entrepreneurship education like that NUC is doing now, but we need implementation and foster culture of innovation and creativity that he has given numerous examples, even his university where he was the vice chancellor. And he said universities, industry, and government should support spin-offs and startups. And these will emerge from university research and meet societal needs. Thank you so much, Professor Ahaneku. So now we'll bring us to the next session, which will also be exciting, and that is the panel section. Ladies and gentlemen, please meet our panelists, Dr. Sarah A. Winnie. She is an educator, a researcher, and youth development coach. She started her professional career as a training officer at the Petroleum Training Institute, Efron, Nigeria in 2003. Currently, she's the Assistant Director Training, Lecturing Chemistry and Environmental Courses in Science Laboratory Technology, Department, PTI, Efron. She also doubles as the head of the Linkages, Exchange, and Partnerships. Very good. We're talking about collaboration. Office of the Principal and Chief Executive, PTI. She's a chartered chemist with the Institute of Chartered Chemists of Nigeria, ICON. Meet another expert panelist today, Dr. Caleb M. Adelowo. He is at present a postdoctoral research fellow at the Faculty of Economic and Management Sciences, Northwest University, Potchefstroom, South Africa, an assistant director of research and immediate past head of the Science Policy Research and Innovation Studies, Department of National Center for Technology Management, Obafemi Awolowo University, a think tank agency of government. He holds MSc and PhD in Technology Management from the African Institute for Science and Policy and Innovation at Obafemi Awolowo University. He bagged a master's degree in intellectual property from the African University Zimbabwe through Award Intellectual Property Organization Scholarship in 2010. Dr. Caleb was an Africalis PhD scholar at Aalborg University, Denmark in 2016. His teaching and research focus on entrepreneurship and innovation management, particularly bridging innovation gaps within the context of developing countries. He has supervised and mentored 6 postgraduate students, coordinated several research projects, published several articles, and presented papers at several local and international conferences. He is very, very open to collaboration in the fields of entrepreneurship and innovation management. And the last but not the least of the panelists today, an experienced Dr. Taufik Ashiru is a multi-skilled, resource-focused professional, innovative leader, and strategic problem solver with over 30 years of experience spanning the energy industry, manufacturing, and academics. He has over 20 years of this period spent working in the energy sector, Shell, covering activities in procurement and logistics, human resources, as well as project delivery. Dr. Ashiru has worked with individuals from diverse cultures in countries such as the United States of America, Canada, United Kingdom, Netherlands, France, Nigeria, Gabon, and Cameroon. This experienced coach is currently a business consultant researcher with Project Innovation 720 LLC. He helps organizations thrive in the next levels of their transformational journey through a data-driven innovation lifecycle approach. He is also an adjunct professor at Southern New Hampshire University, Cambridge College Global Loyola University, New Orleans, all in the United States, where he impacts the lives of graduate business students through knowledge sharing and research supervision. Welcome, all our panelists. So I'll go straight to Dr. Sarah Winnie. Dr. Sarah Winnie, having seen the perspective today on triple helix model, what specific steps can academic institutions take to mainstream SDG 9, which is innovation focus, into their mission activities and maximize their impacts?
Thank you very much. I want to thank also the president and team of the Triple Helix for inviting me to this panel. I want to appreciate the prof for his keynote and also my co-panelists and yourself, the moderator. Basically, when you're talking about innovation and infrastructure, which is what the SDG Goal 9 is hinged on, it has to do with ensuring that you're not kind of trying to reinvent the wheel, but you're looking at building people who can think for themselves. You see, our educational system, which is one of the things I've been itching to talk about, and thank God this panel has afforded me the opportunity to share this. It's not just creating these entrepreneurial universities that is the key thing. We need to really look at our educational system. We have a system that is so rigid in teaching and assessment that robs the student of the ability to think. This morning in my lecture, I was asking my students a few questions, and one of them, was so concerned. He said, what happens many times when we finish these projects, we just leave them, we don't know what happens to them. And that's a student talking, because the way we train them here, we train them also to think. When people can think, they can innovate. People don't even need a classroom to think. We're looking at universities now, but I think it was Mr. Tango that shared something on LinkedIn recently of a young child that innovated a kind of pulley system that allows a little truck to lift things up and pour it. That child did not see the four walls of a university. Why was he able to innovate? He could think. Our system needs to allow the students think. It's a system where you're assessing students, you just want them to give you back what you gave them, will not produce the kind of innovators we want to meet the goal, the SDG 9 goal. It's very important. Pramath Sinha, the man behind the most innovative world-class institutions in India, that's the Ashoka University and the Indian School of Business. He said massive innovation can happen by copying something from one context and applying it in another. Now, when you're trying to do that copying, background and foundation matters. You see these people, they are online hunting for ideas, hunting for knowledge. The main thing about this goal, SDG 9, trying to mainstream it, is the main thing is getting people to think.
Thank you so much. Dr. Caleb Adelowo, a policy researcher, we want to know from you, what are some of the most impactful interventions that can be implemented by government, industry, and academia to mainstream the third mission of universities to support SDG 9?
Thank you very much. I hope you can hear me loud and clear.
Yes,
First and foremost, allow me to stand on existing protocol and also to appreciate the organizers for inviting me. I'll go straight even to responding to those questions. First and foremost, fostering that linkage, the interaction between the university, between government, industry, and academia is germane towards creating the entrepreneurial university, because that's the university that is able to, solve societal problem, address poverty, hunger, and all of other SDGs. And how can this really happen? First, university needs to be transformed into the real entrepreneurial university. And for this to happen, the first thing that we need to understand is entrepreneurship skills has to be built in students, the problem-solving capability of the student had to be brought even to the fore. And for this also to happen, even the faculty members themselves need to reskill. They need to, to refresh their background, because you cannot give what you don't have. So for them to actually provide adequate skills for this, for the student in the university who we think probably they could become entrepreneurs in the future, they need to transfer the skill that they have. So next to that is the kind of research that is conducted in the university needs to change. The focus has to change. The leadership has to change in terms of reorientation of the faculties, in terms of you are not doing research for just publication alone. Your research should address problems in the society. So if your research is not emanating from a particular problem in the society, it will be difficult for the industry to actually catch in on that. So linking or in the course of a conceptualization. So university can actually create a pool called maybe a research center, whereby they look at all the proposals that will be funded within the university.
Thank you. Research priorities should be made clear in the process of research design. Thank you so much. Dr. Tafik, we come to you. How can industry players leverage university resources that have been highlighted today, including research expertise and infrastructure, to accelerate progress towards the SDG 9? And what are some of the key challenges that they may encounter in doing so?
Yeah, thank you. All right. So we're looking at how industry players can leverage university resources, including research expertise and infrastructure, to accelerate progress towards the SDG 9 goals. Thank you, Madam Moderator, for the question, and thanks the forum for coming around. One major thing is in terms of collaboration. In terms of collaboration, if you look at the industry is positioned in a way to operate in a different mode from the university. The university, in most cases, is like you have the funnel of research. We're talking about the third mission. The third mission is a stage, is one of the value chain where you have the teaching taking place, the research taking place, and the social economic space coming on board. So it's a chain. And where that focus is going on, how do we collaborate with the industry to actually solve the pain points of the industry? So there must be that kind of linkage for the two to actually be speaking with each other to actually do that. In most cases, the universities are not positioned to be commercial. They don't generate money. In most cases, they spend money. The industry generates money. So how do you meet this and have a meeting point where the two collaborate with each other, where the industry is able to funnel money into the institutions that are able to transform such into value for the industry? The industry in most cases are in the steady state position where there are changes in terms of continuous. The research institutions are in the quantum mode where most of the time their innovation changes things. So the two of them needs to collaborate and solve the societal problem.
Thank you. So he's talking about collaboration at the nexus of success as a recipe for solving the problem that may arise. Thank you so much. We go back to Dr. Sarah Winnie. How can universities and their partners ensure that SDG 9 initiatives are socially responsible, sustainable, and aligned with the needs of local and global communities?
Thank you for that question. Of course, we know what sustainable development means, which is being able to meet the needs of the present without compromising the ability of future generations to meet their own. We need to ensure that every project or innovation we want to carry out has a sustainability plan. And this plan could do, sometimes you have like a stakeholder engagement or public enlightenment. And you know, when you're talking about sustainability, you're looking at the human angle, the social angle, the economic and environmental. You must ensure that whatever you're innovating is green and eco-friendly. For instance, with the renewables on ground, you have to make sure that whatever you're innovating, you must have in your mind a transformative design. You're trying to contribute something, but whatever you're contributing, you must have sustainability in your mind, and that is enshrined in corporate culture. When sustainability becomes a corporate culture, before the organization does anything, so sustainability becomes one of the things they put at the at the center. And you also look at systems thinking. Sustainable innovation, has to be collaborative, where you get everybody's buy-in, and as they're trying to innovate things, you think about it, so just like the students' research project, okay? There's a step involved in one of my students' projects, and I'm trying to get her to take it out because I'm trying to reduce the consumption of energy in that project as much as possible. So one of the ways I feel we can partner with our partners to ensure that all we do is align with the SDG 9 is that we put sustainability behind our mind for everything we do. Thank you.
Thank you. Align with SDG 9 and put sustainability behind our mind always. Thank you so much. Dr. Khaled Adelowo, we come back to you. What specific measures can government agencies take to incentivize industry partnership and collaborations with universities in support of SDG 9? And how can these measures be effectively implemented and measured?
Yeah, thank you very much again, the moderator. First and foremost, for government there are a lot of intervention that government has actually put in place that could foster, the attainment of that SDG 9 in terms of bridging the innovation gap within the system. First and foremost, we have the STI policy. That's the Science, Technology, and Innovation Policy. It has clearly articulated key areas of research that universities, research institutions should focus on, which of course is going to address specific SDG problems that we have in Nigeria. And also, government has equally articulated clearly the intellectual property policy, which of course could help the university, of course, or that university could leverage to actually use to incentivize research commercializations within their domain. That's another one. And then, of course, to further promote, this kind of interaction between the government and then the industry and academia. There is this Startup Act that was actually signed into law last year. That's a Startup Act, which of course will assist stakeholders can come together to see that yes, this act is implemented so as to foster entrepreneurial, competencies among even the students and even the faculty as well. And of course, specifically for university needs to actually understand their place in development. Earlier speaker talked about the sustainability, where it ends. We don't have the time in this country, but in Nigeria, in terms of wasting money, whatever resources that we have, no matter how little it may be, should be targeted towards conducting research that addresses local problems. Doing esoteric research, is good, but should be limited and then focus essentially on research that address real problems.
Thank you so much, Dr. Khaled. He said we should try as much as possible to do society relevant research. Thank you so much. Dr. Tafi Kashiru, so we're coming to you now as the last part of this panel session. What specific actions can industry take to support universities in their effort to mainstream SDG 9?
Thank you for the question. One major thing is in terms of the priorities of industries and the priorities of universities are different. While the industry wants to make quick money, the industry, the universities in most cases, some researchers are passionate about what they are doing. So there has to be some kind of trade-off. So it's about partnering with them to actually solve the real life problems. So how do they partner and look at the common pain points, the societal problems that are abounds within us? We have major 3 points that a Berlin institution looked at in Nigeria and Africa: education, health, food. How do we solve some of these key points to leapfrog us to the current situation in which we are in? So by providing funds and actually sponsoring people from the industry to the universities and university to the industry. I'll give you that. I'm an example of one. I've worked in the industry for many years, and I'm now working in the university. I'm a scholar practitioner. I understand the issues in the industry and issue in the university. And that's why in the US, for example, they call myself a professor of practice. Professor of practice is different from the professor of research, where it's only based on research. I'm a practical hands-on person that I understand what is in the industry, and I teach, I do research, and I interact, I consult. And so I'm into that space of the scholar practitioner space. And that's a kind of thing that the university and the industry needs to do. They need to partner, solve societal problem, and create value, share value, and make the society a better one. And that's what the third mission should be focusing on. We need the fund, we need the environment, we need the talents, and we need the people. Thank you.
Thank you. Talent, the people, and the synergy. Thank you so much, Dr. Tafik. So now I will go for last minute thoughts by my expert panelists. So I go to Dr. Winnie. Please, what is your 30-second burning take home for these people?
Thank you very much. What I'll make my closing thoughts here. We're trying to operationalize this third mission, and I think it's very critical. Fine, beyond having an entrepreneurial mindset to creating entrepreneurial universities, we need our lecturers and our trainers to train our students in a way that will allow them, that will not rob them of their unique ability to think. This is something I've been looking at critically, and then when you're teaching, you also deliver the same kind of, allowing them to contribute, and that is very useful. Then you see students, coming up with projects that can be entrepreneurial. And don't forget, you want to have a knowledge transfer partnership. For the universities, there has to be a focus. We're running around companies trying to get them to partner with us. What is our focus? These people, you know how difficult it is to do business in Nigeria. Business in Nigeria needs a proper enabling environment. So there's a business that there has to be a business mindset from both the university, and knowing that for the triple helix to really, be coherent and give us value, we all must have a shared purpose.
Thank you. Okay, I reverse the order. Now go to Dr. Taufik Ashiru. So your last closing comment for this wonderful audience.
Thank you, Madam Moderator. My closing comment is that I see a future in Africa. Is when people talk of developing nation, I don't think we are developing, we are emerging. We need to change that mindset. We are emerging. We're very powerful. And I look at where I'm working on a project with Cypher Crescent, and we'll be presenting that in Barcelona very soon about the knowledge silos. We have knowledge silos all over the nation, all over Africa. How do we enhance this knowledge silo? So that's a design we're looking at. We're creating a kind of a platform where we're going to put all this together, and we will need you as a community to come and play on that. And what are we going to do on that platform? We're going to have what we call the network effect. It's a concept of implementing and pushing values up and connecting all the silos. And the interesting thing about network system is that the more network you have, the stronger the networks are. So networks over everywhere and the silos bridging themselves, government, universities, private sectors, empowerment, and that's what I'm looking at. We need to bridge and integrate all these knowledge silos. Thank you.
Thank you so much, a powerful one. We now go to Dr. Caleb. I see he has a lot to give us. So now we hear you.
Thank you very much. My takeaway point would definitely be that government should establish and functionalize Science Park, which of course will bring together all these elements that Dr. Taufik just mentioned. And of course, within the Science Park or Innovation Park or incubator, this is where innovation actually occurs. This is where the actual interaction between the universities and then the industry actually occurs. So commitment and dedication, even to the functionalization of Science Park, is key towards technological development of the nation and also the socioeconomic development. Within the park is just normal for firms, universities to collaborate. It's a kind of enabling environment, even for triple helix to actually occur. So that's basically what would be my parting words. And I can cite the example of what operates in South Africa currently. They have what we call Innovation Bridge Portal. Anybody can Google that and see. On the portal, what we have are the commercializable R&D that are ready from the university and research institutions part. And then the industry can also come to that portal to look at existing solutions to their problem. And of course, if their solutions are not there, they can put there their own solution, the kind of challenge or challenges that they face and what they know about it. And the researchers can actually put themselves together to actually address this using existing fund that they have, even for the portal. So this brings a kind of complete synergy that we expect between the industry and the university. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much. It's been a wonderful panel session. I can tell you that I promised and I delivered. So now we go into your Q&A. Thanks all the panelists. You are amazing. So the question session, question and answer now. So I'm going to run to the questions we have. The first one is from Latif Karim. He said students who try to innovate are penalized for writing something different from the thoughts of the lecturers. So I will call on Professor Haneku to speak to this. Akino speaker, please. Professor Haneku, can you speak to this? Latif wants to know what they can do. He observed that students who try to innovate are penalized for writing something different from the thoughts of the lecturer.
Yeah, thank you very much. I want to also thank the panelists for all their thoughts and contributions. The truth is that the idea and the way we are doing our teaching now, which we have all accepted, is really not the way to continue to go. Is the assumption that the lecturer himself or the teacher himself is the custodian of knowledge is really a very wrong assumption. So the young generation and the space is just very broad for people to even acquire. So for me, every lecturer, every person in the university should really have a broad mind and broad mindset to also learn, even from your own students. And I tell this to my graduate students that, look, I'm only guiding you. You are the one, leading this research. And if we all have that mindset, you can only use your level of experience in the management of the broad concept of whatever that is happening around you to also direct that student. So if a young person is thinking outside the box or thinking outside the realm of what his trainer has provided, you also have to look into what the person is doing to see how you can get something out of it, because you can also learn from that person. So the important thing is continue to encourage any person that is likely focused and is properly focused in whatever direction that the person is really doing. So I want to now say this, on the basis of what one of the panelists said, that we need to give space for people to demonstrate their capacities and competencies in terms of knowledge. We need to allow young people to think and think broadly.
Thank you so much, sir, from your experience he has given. I hope you're satisfied, Latif. And now we go to Godman Honor. He asked, can a student-staff relationship be promoted in this model, that's the triple helix model, so that lecturers can encourage students to think and create, just as suggested by one of our panelists, Dr. Winnie. So I take it back to Dr. Winnie. A minute, please. Can a student-staff relationship be promoted using the triple helix model, such that lecturers can encourage students to think and to create?
Definitely. And I think what we should do is, people just get this lecturing job because they have degrees and don't actually have training, the requisite training to demonstrate and teach. Some of the universities in the UK, what they do is even when they engage you, they pass you through a training that enables you learn how to teach and demonstrate. Some people are custodians and fountains of knowledge, but they don't know how to, transfer, which goes to what we're talking about, getting universities and industry to have knowledge transfer partnership. So what we are doing here in PTI is we have, so there are companies that are specialists in different kinds of training. Recently, those of us at the management level went through some rigorous training for 2 days, and it makes us better. So there has to be a train-the-trainer process, because things are changing. Because when you're a lecturer, you're like, when you are a professor, you're in your emperor, you're in your kingdom. Nobody's challenging you. You will want your students at some points to challenge conventional thinking, because we are lacking in critical thinking as a nation, where we don't allow people to think. When they write their papers or their journals or their projects, you don't see critical thinking there. They just cut, paste, cite, no individual contribution of their own thoughts. And that's the system that trained us.
Thank you. So she's asking all the students and researchers to box their supervisors so they can challenge them to make contribution to be innovative. Thank you. So I now go to Dr. Caleb. Dr. Caleb, what strategies, a question from Isaac Akwu, can schools use to foster collaboration between student educators and community organizations? This is societal impact now. And how can this collaboration support student learning?
Yeah, thank you very much. I really, when I saw that question, is highly, very, very on point. But first and foremost, it borders on the way our curriculum are structured and then are delivered in the university. In other time, to allow students as well to rate their lecturers. So when the lecturers understand that their student could rate them, to rate their performance or performances in class. So these are some of the things that will make them to be up and doing in what they're actually, what the course they are teaching in classes. So this will allow them to double up their effort to actually transfer knowledge even to them. Compared to the way it is right now. And of course, the basic way of transferring knowledge from university to the industry or to the society is for the universities to set up an institution, probably a kind of technology transfer office or linkage office. It's the office that will actually do the work in order to maximize the time and resources of the university. So the researchers will be a lot more better in the laboratory.
Thank you so much. Okay, so now we have a new question. We've actually mentioned how the universities, industry, and government could come together to improve innovation and sustainability. But I'm concerned more about the fresh graduate students who look toward being part of this transition. Where can we fit in best, and how can we come in? So I take this to the professor of practice, Dr. Tafik Ashiru.
So what we're looking at is in terms of we talked about the training that we were given in the early years and co. But one major advantage that we do have now is the opportunity to mentor. Mentoring should be a mainstay in terms of we should have industry mentors as well as academic mentors. So a mentoring framework that allows people to actually have a kind of exposure to the real world, to what's happening in the real world is about experimentation, is about practice, fail several times and stand up and practice again. That's what innovation is about. You practice things and you make mistakes and you see how other people are doing. So it's not only theoretical, it's about the real world. Sometimes they tell you this is how the equation goes, but when you go there, it's not really going to be like that. You need to modify. That allow people to innovate and think. So how do we put the mentoring system? And this is a kind of in a digital world where we are now, there are opportunities to put this and link people in different parts of the world together. Where we're doing now, we're in different parts of the world and we're able to talk. So this is a kind of knowledge sharing, talking with each other, and ability to let people link with each other, mentor, develop their career, and become the next people that will bring the industry and bring things to fore.
Thank you so much, Dr. Ashiru. We go to Professor Haneku because of the wealth of experience as a former vice chancellor, bringing industry and university. So John answer us, is it possible for institutions to get project topics from companies, that's industry, based on their challenges and not the other way around?
Oh, yeah. Thank you very much. Of course, that is very, very right. Drawing from experience, not only in the university I managed, when I was working in Japan, as a matter of fact, a colleague of mine, the time I was working in Japan, because we were there to develop a product. Another colleague of mine from Sudan was working for Mitsubishi company. So amazingly, his degree was being funded and the project was Mitsubishi company project, but being executed in a university. So in our university in Nigeria, as a matter of fact, that is why we keep saying that we need a way of cascading a lot of things to a level that people can really participate. If you do exhibitions on an annual basis, companies and stakeholders seeing what you do will tell you, oh, we need this, we need that. Can you do that? As I speak, we had 5 patents before I left office. And one of those patents ended up producing shoe, that's a brake shoe, what they call brake pad. And it was a demand from a car company to produce that. The same thing, the collaboration we had with Curtis Cable was after exhibition, done in the university. And after that, there was a demand for the Department of Electrical Engineering to go into a particular project which they themselves sponsored. The same thing with Julius Berger. So what I'm trying to say is that the environment has to be created. The moment you create the environment and you show that you have the capacity and competencies, then they will give you the charge to say, oh, do this for us and let's see what happens. And if you give them a result, they are ready to go on partnering with you.
Thank you so much. Now we go to the final question. This is the question from Gospel Asukwo. Let's take it to Professor of Practice again. Dr. Ashiru, please. What could be responsible for the non-collaboration between academia and industry?
I will look at the culture, difference in culture. The culture of the two entities are different and their priorities are different. So it has to be a kind of trade-off. In the academia, culture is about research. And those research may be theoretical research, science-based research. The industry wants results. They want to start making money. So what we need that will make money for them now. So that's why I say it's a value chain. So if you have to put that priority, what do we do as a long-term research? And then what we do as something that will start delivering money. So we talk about the cash cow, the quick win. And then we talk about the stars in the Boston model, whereby you start looking at what comes into that model. What is it that we'll be doing for strategic future? What is it that we'll be doing right now to start making money? That's what the industry wants. What will make money for me? So you need to solve their immediate pain points. And then while you are doing that, you can be looking at other research that will be a futuristic research that will change that thing totally.
Thank you so much. All the questions have been answered. Thank you, my great panelists and a great keynote speaker. So we have words of marble. One is from Anyeka Okon. He said he can resonate with the lecture. Government should establish and implement relevant policies. And this is very key. We agree with you. Another word of marble is from Lawrence Akubwe. He said, developing versus emerging is a food for thought. So we should think about it. These are a great quote from a professor of practice. We have another pointer from Lawrence Akubwe. He has pointed us to a website, www.ACEEU, that's Accreditation Council for Entrepreneurial and Engaged Universities.org. So he said here we can check how universities are evaluated globally with respect to the third mission, which talks about innovation. So on this note, I want to push us now to the closing remark by the Vice President of Triple Helix Nigeria, Mr. Tangold Ewe. Please, your closing remarks, sir.
Right. Good afternoon, all. Permit me to stand on existing protocol. It's been very, very good listening to all the panelists, listening to the keynote speaker and the moderator, and of course, our own able president. This is our first webinar series. Of course, we got the experts trying to operationalize Triple Helix in Nigeria from the framework of the third mission of universities. And we had the panelists selected from all walks of life to discuss about training, discuss about research, and discuss about innovation. Our objective here is basically to operationalize the Sustainable Development Goal 9, which is about industrialization, about innovation, about infrastructure. And then that will ultimately lead us to our vision 10-10-10-10, which is basically in the next 10 years, we should be able to get 10 universities that will have 10% equity in 10 listed companies. And for us to do that, it means that we should mainstream Triple Helix in our university. We should be able to convert the orientation of our lecturers to be thought mission oriented, innovation oriented. We should actually start practicing what we teach. I actually like the background of the keynote speaker discussing about those who know and those who teach, how to teach and to innovate and create. I like that. So thank you so much, our panelists. This is really very good. We'll have a series of webinars like this to actually collect thoughts from industry experts, from university experts, from government experts for us to put up our Vision 10-10-10 framework that will help universities to actually operationalize this and get 10 listed companies. So our next webinar will be on the 8th of June, which is also going to be about driving corporate innovation in Nigeria. And of course, we are going to get experts around innovation who have been done innovation in a couple of companies to actually come around and share knowledge with us. So on this note, I'll thank all of you for joining. It's been very engaging and very, very good for us. So thank you, and see you on the 8th of June. Over to the moderator. Thank you.
Our wonderful participants, can you turn on your video, your camera, so we can all see your beautiful faces hidden behind the behind the app? Yeah, beautiful. Beautiful. So can you take as many exposures as possible to ensure we have faces of all of these persons? We have over 59 persons in attendance. Yeah, great. Turn on your videos. Yes, thank you. And beam some smile so we can be convinced that we are ready to collaborate. Thank you, Mr. President. I can see his smiles. Lauren, please wave when you're done with all the exposures.
5 more seconds. 4, 3, 2, 1.
Done. Thank you so much. So we've got the vote of thanks from the Vice President of Triple Helix Nigeria. We're very grateful that you could attend today's first webinar in the series. Let's keep engaging with ourselves. Let's keep interacting. Let's follow on social media, Triple Helix Nigeria, and keep bringing all the thoughts so we can get this moving. It is possible. Thank you and have a great day. Bye.
Thank you very much. Bye-bye.
I thank you all and bye.